Will you be ready? Join Jeff Mitchell and Camille Butterfield every Monday morning for the Monolith Money Show. Find out about opportunities that could give you that dream retirement you're working for. The Monolith Money Show with Jeff Mitchell and Camille Butterfield every Monday morning at 10. Firm provides insurance services. Investment advisory services offered only by duly insured individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
And that was the lowest I'd ever felt in my life. I knew then that I had to do something to simply not to go to hell for selling timeshare.
Chuck McDowell founded Wesley Financial Group to help folks cancel their timeshares permanently.
Called her and everybody that I had sold timeshare to, and I said, this is what I said to you. It was a lie, and this is what you need to do to cancel your timeshare. From that point, people started referring friends to me to help them cancel their timeshare, and that's how it all started. I fought the world's largest timeshare company in federal court. If I had lost that lawsuit, there would be no one helping people that have been lied to when they bought timeshare. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare contract or you'll pay nothing.
Call Wesley Financial Group now for a free information kit. 800-786-9300. That's 800-786-9300.
And it'll change. Well, the weather isn't the only thing changing. According to our latest research, local business owners today are saying it's getting harder to sustain their business than it was just a few months ago. They also told us that targeting the right audience with their advertising messages is more important than ever. At Salem Surround, our team of local in-market experts take that seriously. We utilize the latest research in marketing technology to deliver media plans that will exceed your expectations. Let Salem Surround show you how we can solve for your marketing challenges by bringing nationwide resources while delivering Main Street solutions. Salem Surround is here to help you through the constant changes. We promise we'll help your business stay ahead of the changing weather.
Get started now at surroundsacramento.com and let's navigate the changing business climate together. Visit surroundsacramento.com. That's surroundsacramento.com.
You'll save enough to fill it up with food. Make the holidays yours at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Valid November 3rd through December 1st. U.S. only. Gas appliances extra offer valid on select appliances and while supplies last. See online or associate in-store for details.
At JCPenney, hurry and shop thousands of the merriest Black Friday deals while they last. Make spirits bright with up to 75% off fine jewelry. Get innovative with sharper image gifts now up to 50% off. Plus, take home kitchen appliances for $7.99 each after $10 mail-in rebate. Score these deals and more all week long before they're gone. Happy Black Friday, JCPenney. Offers valid on select items 11/22 through 11/28. Conditions and exclusions apply. See store or jcp.com for details.
Credit card companies try to lure you in with low starting rates or tons of reward points just to jack up the interest rates after a few months. Add in the loss of jobs and closing of businesses due to COVID, and it's easy to see why so many people are struggling to make their minimum payments. Loose Debts is here with good news. Due to the recent global events, a special debt relief helpline has been created for anyone with over $5,000 in debt. But you must call us at 800-515-1671. As government and forbearance programs come to an end, banks are willing to settle your debt for a fraction of what you owe, making it a perfect time to eliminate your debt. There are no upfront fees, and we offer a 100% money-back guarantee. This opportunity won't last long, so call us today at 800-515-1671. You have enough to worry about. Eliminate your debt and remove that unneeded stress. 800-515-1671.
The gift of a Peloton bike touched his soul without doubt. When your workout's a joy, it's a joy to work out. This Black Friday, get the original Peloton bike at our best holiday price ever, $1,495. All access memberships separate. Terms apply. See website for details.
Diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-777-1979. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-777-1979. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-777-1979.
Let's get ready to rumble! Hello, welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C Sports. This is Charlton with Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe. According to people who love sports, it's all fair and love award. Bienvenido. Welcome to Big C Sports on a beautiful, man, it's a beautiful November the 24th, 2021. Grando Deportes. I'm so full of turkey. I think I already ate some Thanksgiving dinner, and my turkey is like kicking around in my stomach. I guess I should have cooked it longer. It's all fair in level. What a great day. It's a gluttonous day and a gluttonous holiday. Today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade. When you go by and test drive yours, just tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. Also, all around the world, you can follow Big C Sports on 18 podcast applications. Make sure you eat your turkey first. If not, that tryptophan, it might sit in. It might not want to leave your gut, if that makes sense to you. You can follow Big C Sports on 18 podcast applications. And I really love doing it, but it takes me a long time to count to 18. I used to think I was smart, but maybe you try to count to 18. That's all fair. And Love Award, you can follow Big C Sports. You got to say it loud. Say it louder. I heard an older lady one time tell a man, say it louder. So on Google Podcasts, Alexa Podcast, Spotify, Speaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, you can find Big C Sports Podcast on iHeart-Radio-Podcast, Castbox Podcast, Deezer Podcast. You can follow Big C Sports on Podcast Addict. You can follow Big C Sports on Podchaser. And now I got to catch my breath. Oh, my goodness. Maybe a tryptophan. Or maybe I just got to do more sit-ups. You can find Big C Sports on Gio Savon Podcast out of London, England, on Podtail Podcast, YouTube Podcast, Hubhopper, Stitcher, Radio Line, Repod Podcast, Luminary Podcast. And also, you can find us on 4 TV applications: Xfinity, Comcast TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and a lot of smart TVs all over the universe. Really appreciate that. Give it the praise. Woo! I feel like I did 100 sit-ups. Just have to praise. Everybody got to do sit-ups. I got to do more sit-ups. It's all fair. And Love Award. I really do appreciate paying homage to my family legacy on my mother's side. My great-grandmother called her Mamo Hattie Leach. Wonderful, especially coming up on times of Thanksgiving. Made sure the family had everything we needed and always a full belly. My grandfather, my great-grandfather, Papa, he was the patriarch of the family, known as making the best moonshine in the history of the universe. All known for saying, boy, get out of that barn. I really do appreciate that with Big C Sports Podcast. And my mother's side, we called her Mud Deer. She was a seer. She was someone who really business savvy, made sure the family stuck together through thick and thin, especially on the holidays. And then my grandfather, Hezekiah, another great person, keeping the family strong together. My beautiful mother helped start a Head Start program in Northern California. Also helped us win the Little League Championship of the universe. Give her some praise. That's important. Head Start and the Little League Championship, always saying rise and shine. Really do love the cooking that Mama over the years have put together for wonderful Thanksgivings, the best Thanksgivings of my lifetime. On my father's side, my grandfather, the patriarch of the family, his name was Albert Curry. He was a pastor and ran 2 service stations in Oakland, California. Also built 3 churches, along with my grandmother, the matriarch of the family on my father's side, Alberta Curry, helped run the churches as well as the service stations. Give them all praise. Really appreciate that. And then my father was retired Air Force fighter pilot and chief mechanic, making sure planes could fly high as all fan level. When my brother Todd, with his bombastic voice, always in his scoop, did I break your concentration? Give them all praise, praise, praise. I love paying homage to my son, Malcolm. College kid, all over the NBA, gives me a lot of NBA stats, really knows what's going on in the world of NBA basketball. And then my daughter, Daisy, would help me set up for sporting events when they came to the West Coast with the college coaches. And then Big C with his wealth of knowledge. Give them all praise. Give them all praise on this wonderful Thanksgiving Eve. We don't call Thanksgiving an Eve, but it is a Thanksgiving Eve. I know that because I feel like I got still some Thanksgiving, pre-Thanksgiving turkey in my belly. So I gotta get charged up because that stuff makes you sleep. Let's get ready to rumble. I say welcome to the show, Big C Sports Podcast, ESPY nominated Big C Sports Podcast by Disney Corporation. No scripts, no three-man teleprompters, no producer in my ear. I do my show with my higher self. I produce the show. I direct all the topics. I broadcast the shows. I do the sound effects. In fact, I got to get my producer to get off that tryptophan. I do the sound effects, as I would like to say, okay? The sound effects are good with Big C Sports Podcast. My producer, sometimes he falls asleep with all that turkey in his belly. I do the sound effects for Big C Sports Podcast. I do the storytelling. I do the play-by-play. Oftentimes you'll hear this over the holidays. Steph Curry 4-3. The Golden State Warriors going to be doing their things coming up on this week. A lot of basketball action. I'll touch on that later in the show. Then I upload to the 18 podcast applications all over the universe. In fact, it's done by the agency out of New York and 4 TV platforms. Really do appreciate that. I also love paying homage. A lot of people having church services. Oftentimes they'll do them tonight, or they'll have a Thursday Thanksgiving. They'll put them off. But there's a scripture that I love in the Bible. There's 2 of them. Genesis 13:15 says, "For all the land that thou seest will I give you, and thy seed forever." In the book of James, chapter 4, verse 2 said, "We have not because we ask not." So just ask. Give the Bible some praise. If you want something, just ask. The answer is always yes or no, but it's always no if you don't ask. If you ask, you have a chance for yes. I always love asking for our veterans. Not just on Veterans Day. Every day, we're thankful for whatever blessings we have in our life. Thanksgiving Day, really love paying homage to our veterans. We have a Veterans Crisis Line, a Veterans Crisis Hotline. They really are experienced helping veterans and their loved ones get help. And oftentimes, they don't know what to do. Sometimes people can do it for themselves. I've even used it for myself. 800-238-8255. That's 800-238-8255. Or you can text 838-255. That's 838-255. If you're online, simply go to veteranscrisisline.net. That's veteranscrisisline.net. You can get some help for our veterans and their loved ones. Give them some praise. Give the Veterans Crisis Hotline some praise. Give it praise, praise, praise. They really need it. They do a lot to help people that we don't know how to help. They're skilled to do it, and that's why I love giving out that hotline. I also want to say very happy to be affiliated with Valley Homes Weekly TV on Dish TV, Direct TV, AT&T Uverse. They also have several games with the San Francisco Giants when Major League Baseball is playing, and I really do appreciate that. I also want to say thank you to Xfinity, Comcast TV, and Comcast Spotlight Effect TV for presenting Big C Sports to the universe. Just like in Genesis 1:3, God said, "Let there be light." Open your cell phones and just say, "Play Big C Sports Podcast." You will see apps pop up all over the universe. Really do appreciate that. For those of you looking in real estate, the Big C team's trying to recruit 10,000 real estate agents and brokers all over this great country to help put people back to work, just like McDonald's does it, Nike does it, and car dealerships do it, sports teams do it too. You can go to these websites that will tell you about real estate. ValleyHomesWeekly.com. National is called the National Real Estate Post.com. Also, MortgageDailyNews.com. Or if you want more information about what's going on in real estate and mortgages around the country in your neck of the woods, pick up the phone and call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. And when you call them, just tell them Big C sent you. Give them some praise. Give them all some praise. It's all fair in love and war. Really do appreciate that. For the people out there betting on sporting events, don't bet more than you can lose. I had someone call me, or it was some type of electronic communication where they text my cell phone and said they had a guarantee winner for some big games coming up over the week. And I text back, if it's guaranteed, why don't you put in a bet for me? You know they blocked me. You ever been blocked? It's all fair in love and war. But if they have such a great deal, why are they calling you to get you in on some of the money they could have? Just be careful if you're betting. Don't bet more than you can afford to lose. Also want to say thank you to Budweiser, 100% alcohol. No, there's 0% alcohol, 100% on the game. Sports fans, when you're watching the big game, you want to eat it with the Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with what's all this exotic meat. Last I checked, a lot of people are going to consume their favorite live beverage over the weekend. All weekend. If you don't know this by now, I don't know what to say. If you're going to drink an alcoholic beverage, then don't drive. Don't be the one that's pulled over on the side of the road, or even in worse situation where you have an accident because you were too dumb to realize if you're going to drink, just don't drive. I know there's going to be people that say, I can do what I want to do. But there's a group called it's called MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. Just Google it for anybody that's going to be serving libations in your residence or at restaurants. You can call Uber, you can get a taxi, you can call Lyft. You don't have to drink and drive. If you love anybody, even just a little bit, please don't let them drink and drive. Designated drivers, get some praise. Designated drivers, get some praise. Don't let anyone drink and drive. Please. It's the dumbest PSA that have to be given out because there's still people who say, well, I can do it. I can hold my liquor. I know what I'm doing. You don't want to have to tell that to the sheriff or the judge. If you love people, do not let them drink and drive. I don't know how many people need to hear that, but some people, they won't listen anyway. But for the ones that care about someone, do not let someone that you love drink and drive. It's all fair and level war. There's a lot of good stuff coming up in sports, and I'm going to talk about sports coming up too. But I'm on this Thanksgiving. I'm not going to do the show tomorrow for Thanksgiving, but for Thanksgiving Eve, if there was a holiday called Thanksgiving Eve, you know it's Thanksgiving Eve because everybody's out driving and honking horns and blowing horns at each other as they're thankful that their horn works so they can get out there and blow their horn at somebody that may have cut them off in traffic. Just be happy. It's okay to be nice. Nothing wrong with being nice. But for Thanksgiving, what does it mean? It means a lot to everybody. For me, I remember growing up, Mama always having the stove going, the oven going, food cooking in the house, sometime on the heater. The house always smelled like a restaurant. Just bring back some great memories of years past and really appreciate those memories to this day, and how even if you walk into a house filled with love and good smelling food, it's a great feeling. Not everybody has the chance to enjoy that. Everybody has different dynamics. Some people are away in the military and they can't be with their loved ones, and some people, for whatever reason, don't have the chance to do it either or don't try to. But Thanksgiving has been a national holiday in this country that's been very much celebrated on various dates in the United States, Canada, also Grenada, as well as St. Lucia, in different other parts of the world. But it's began as a day of giving thanks and sacrifice for all the blessings of the harvest and of the preceding year. And similarly named, the festival holidays occur in Germany and Japan. Thanksgiving is celebrated on the second Monday of October in Canada. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. Love their national anthem. And on the fourth Thursday of November in the United States of America. You know, I love the land of the free and the home of the brave. And thank you for all the turkeys that sacrificed themselves for our gluttony. But all around the world, same parts of the year and other places, Thanksgiving has historical roots in religious and cultural traditions. It has long been celebrated as a secular holiday as well. I know everybody has their own thoughts about what it means. It's time for people to put aside differences and think about what you're grateful for. There are times when people who are here for Thanksgiving this year may not be there next year. There are people who are not here this year that was there last year. And for every family that understands that, thoughts and prayers with you. It's all about having good times and good memories, as I love lamenting how things were when I grew up and over the holidays. I think we all have to be so grateful that we have a choice in life to just reach out and touch somebody's hands. Pick up the phone, let somebody know that you're thinking about them, how you appreciate them. It's all fair and level war. So that's why I love saying happy Thanksgiving. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving from Big C Sports, no matter where you are in the world. Happy Thanksgiving. May you really enjoy those turkeys that gluttony and are gluttony. It's all fair and level war. Take pictures of people and compare them to what they were like last year or even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And sometimes we put on a little bit of weight. Thank goodness for gluttony. All fair and level war. But I really do appreciate the holidays. And there's so much to be grateful for. I'm going to touch on tonight I'm going to start tonight with Big C Sports and the NBA schedule. It's a full schedule, and thank goodness it's full today, because there will be, you know, as every day we have, or every year, the NFL will do NFL football games. We have some games coming up on Thanksgiving Day. That is traditional. I don't know how Detroit ends up on every Thanksgiving Day, but it's traditional. And they'll have the teams go out and play. Basketball is also learning to maybe change things. Basketball, for the first time that I can recall, they have 0 game schedule for Thursday, November 25th. they're deciding they're going to let people stay home with their families. Isn't that something? Give the NBA some praise. Are you ready for the football? Football's going to make people play. And football players are usually the heaviest, the most muscle, and hard to move around. But today, Wednesday, November 24th, the NBA decided that they're going to let all of their teams play today. A lot of big games. Phoenix is at Cleveland. Phoenix is starting to be like the Phoenix. They're starting to rise. And you also have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Game already tipped off at 4 p.m. And then you have the Los Angeles Lakers with all their glory. They just had a loss to the New York Knicks after winning a game at Detroit. And they're playing at Indiana, playing the Pacers. Game already underway. And LeBron James is eligible to play in this game. He had the suspension, and he had to sit out for the New York Knicks game at the Madison Square Garden. Charlotte, they're playing at Orlando down there in Disney World. So hopefully they'll have some magic turkeys at the Magic Kingdom. You ever see a turkey that said, I'm not afraid of you, I'm not going to fly away, and they end up on the dinner table? It's all fair. Some turkeys in California, they're so brazen, they will look at you and say, dare me. Just dare me. Try me. Go ahead, try me. But it's all fair level war. The Magic Kingdom, for the Magic Turkeys down in Orlando, Brooklyn. They're at Boston. Great marquee game on the East Coast. That's a tip-off that already happened at 4:30 p.m. on ESPN. That game has already tipped off, so congratulations to whoever wins that game. That definitely is must-see television. Charlotte is at Houston. That game tipped off already at 5 o'clock p.m. down in the great state of Texas. Now, we talked about Canada. Love old Canada. Love Toronto City. Toronto's a beautiful city. Toronto, they're in the South, playing the Memphis Grizzlies. Already had a tip-off at 5 o'clock p.m. And the Detroit Bad Boys, I guess they were trying to get that name back, the Detroit Bad Boys. They're up at the defending NBA World Champion, Milwaukee Bucks. That game is tipping off. It already tipped off at 5 o'clock p.m. I don't get into the scores. People are DVRing games. Some people are traveling through planes, trains, and automobiles. All's fair in love and war. However you get there, please get there safely. Could you imagine telling an airline pilot, do not drink and fly? Just think about that. Do not drink and fly. You don't even have to think about it because they don't. Do not drink and fly. Think about that. Don't drink and drive if you're driving. Miami at Minnesota, tipped off at 5 o'clock p.m. Washington, they're at New Orleans, the Pelicans. That's a 5 o'clock p.m. tip-off already on the way. And then the Utah Jazz, they are at the OKC. I got to get my producer to wake up from the tryptophan. The Utah Jazz at the OKC Thunder. It's all fair and level war. The Thunder will host the Utah Jazz. And down in the state of Oklahoma, Atlanta, the San Antonio Spurs will welcome in the Atlanta Hawks at 5:30 p.m. tip-off down in the Southwest. Philadelphia 76ers, what a game they have coming to Northern California, taking on Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. That's a 7 o'clock p.m. for the Splash Brother Steph Curry. Will most likely go for 30 again. All fair and level war. I love watching Steph Curry do his thing. And then Portland is at the Sacramento Kings. Alvin Gentry trying to get his first win with the Sacramento Kings. That game tips off at 7 o'clock p.m. So give the NBA some praise. They did it the right way. They said you can play basketball today, but not on Thanksgiving. The NFL said, hey, we're going to play on NFL football on Thanksgiving. It's all fair and level war. So that's the NBA schedule. They're off on Thursday, and they're going to resume their schedule on Friday. A lot of good things happening in the world of sports. And as much as I love basketball, I love it all, whether it's NFL and football or NBA basketball, love Major League Baseball, even love getting into I love boxing, MMA, track and field, all of that. NASCAR, I'm getting into NASCAR more. Hockey's fun. But there's something about basketball. And no matter who you are, give that some praise. Give the crowd some praise for basketball. I have some thoughts on college basketball as I'll get into Big C's power rankings for basketball, college basketball. And there's a lot of good teams that are playing basketball games over the weekend. And I know when I think about it, I picked for the world of college basketball, preseason pick for number one in the country for Big C Sports were the UCLA Bruins. And I still feel they'll end up in the Final Four, but they got beaten last night down in Las Vegas by the Gonzaga, by the Bulldogs. The Zags dominated, and they shut down the UCLA Bruins. UC had a tough night shooting. If there's any doubt whether the number Well, now you got to call them number one. In some polls, they were already number one, flip-flopping 1 and 2, UCLA and Gonzaga. Gonzaga, they really deserve the top spot in the Associated Press, top 25. And when you think about some of the players that are no longer on that team, Corey Kispert was drafted, Jalen Suggs, Joel Ayayi, also from last season's national champion runner-up team. And they lost that to Baylor last year. But you think about Gonzaga, a small town way up in the northwest, where there's Pullman, Washington, Spokane, Washington, that same region, Eastern Washington. But they had a resounding start-to-finish win, 83-63 over UCLA. Gonzaga goes to 6-0. UCLA falls to 5-1. It was just an amazing game for Gonzaga. It was a game that I think UCLA just didn't have their legs under them, making no excuses. But for Gonzaga to beat the Bruins 83-63, I'm not going to drop UCLA far. I'm going to put them at number 2 because they had some beatdowns of teams coming up into this matchup that everybody was looking forward to. But the Bulldogs outlasted the Bruins last year. It was 93-90. In the Final Four was an overtime thriller. But what happened in this game, especially for a team that plays good defense like UCLA, there was never, ever any drama in this game because Gonzaga jumped out to a 33-10 lead midway through the first half. And they never looked back, and UCLA did not have a very good day shooting. I just didn't seem like their legs were under them. They shot 35% from the floor. That does not help at all. There's a gentleman for Gonzaga by the name of Andrew Nembhard who led Gonzaga with 24 points in the front court duel of Drew Timme, who's going to be a solid NBA player. Not very athletic, but he knows how to get position. And then Chet Holmgren combined for 33 more points. Jaime Jaquez Jr. led UCLA with 19 points. It took him 22 shots to get there, though. I just said UCLA was off. And that can happen. Remind me a lot of when the Dallas Cowboys were off and they lost to the Denver Broncos. Next game, they came out and blew out Atlanta 43-3. So it's all about how you play that night. I wouldn't lead too much into this, what happened. But when you think about it, after the Bruins were rolling, and I still put them as one of the top teams in the country, they have been scoring between 75 and 100 points in every game during their 5-0 start. But they just looked like they were off, not making any excuses, not taking anything away from Gonzaga, but they were off, and sometimes when you're off, that's going to happen to you. Gonzaga, Mark Few, has really built a juggernaut. When you think about going into Tuesday's game, Gonzaga's only victory of note came against number 8 Texas on November 13th. And if you think about that, they're just a solid basketball team. They're not big and physical. We saw the size mismatch last year when they lost to Baylor in the national championship. But they're tall, lanky, and they space the floor very well. And then the number 1 overall prospect for 2021 recruiting class showed against UCLA that he's capable of flexing some muscle. I really like what Gonzaga has put together. Of 21 seasons in a row, Coach Few has had Gonzaga winning and getting into the NCAA tournament. You got to give that some praise. In a small market, he's had so much success. I mean, Los Angeles is the number 2 market in the country. But Gonzaga gets as good of players up there. So UCLA, there's a center by the name of Miles Johnson. He's good. It's all fair in love and war. UCLA is good. They just didn't play good basketball last night. But there's another big showdown coming up. Gonzaga's win. It sets up it's a great game coming up against a top 5 opponent this week. They're playing the Duke Blue Devils. Oh, the head coach by Gene, Mike Krzyzewski might be his last year coaching. He may decide he wants to coach more. But they play number 5 Duke on Friday night. So if they're not too sleepy from all the tryptophan, if they're smart, they won't eat any turkey. Stay away from the turkey. Stay away from all that tryptophan so you don't shoot like UCLA was shooting against Gonzaga. But it's a good game on paper. The game was going to have Holmgren against Duke freshman Paolo Banchero, who is perhaps the top competitor in the number 1 position for the 2022 NBA draft. I want to just, Dick Vitale, I've been watching him for so many years. He's been dealing with his own health issues, but he had a diagnosis of a cancer, and he's getting his treatment, and he was away from basketball for a long time. Give him a standing ovation, the great Dick Vitale, for coming out and celebrating, doing play-by-play, an emotional play-by-play by Dick Vitale, an emotional play-by-play of the UCLA and and Duke game, but just wish him nothing but the very best in his health and getting ready to go on and do more of what makes him happy. That's all fair and love and war. But it's all fair and love and war for the people of Westwood and the people of the Gonzaga Bulldogs. It's just a great basketball organizations playing the game the way it should be played. We're going to take what's called the Big C pause, also known as a Big C timeout. We're going to come back and talk about some of the top teams in college basketball in the words of the former California governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'll be back. All right, we are back from the Big C Balls, also known as the Big C Timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 18 podcast applications all over the universe. Good to do, appreciate that. And then 4 TV applications. We cover the NBA. We got into the schedule for tonight, which is a big schedule. There are no NBA games for Thursday. I guess they decided to cancel NBA basketball for Thursday because could you imagine if after eating all that turkey you got to look left and right again, give you a headache. So they decided to cancel all the NBA games for Turkey Day. But college basketball, I'm going to just go over a Big C's thoughts for the national top 25 teams. Again, I guess I can change. I can change my habit top vote for UCLA. Gonzaga Bulldogs now number one. Number one. I had UCLA coming in number one. The Bruins were taking care of business, beating teams that they were supposed to beat, and up to their showdown with Gonzaga Tuesday night. And I think I know what happened to UCLA. Some good boys were saying, look, man, I found these turkeys running around Las Vegas, and they ate some turkey before the game. They just slowed them down. They just did not play like themselves. Or maybe they met with Bill Walton, and he gave them a goodie bag. Whatever it was. That was not the UCLA team that you're going to see rest of the season, but give Gonzaga credit. So Big C Sports, new number one in the country for college basketball. The Gonzaga Bulldogs. The Zags are zigging and zagging their way up and down the court, especially what they did to the UCLA Bruins down in Las Vegas, where what happened in Vegas, they say what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. That's not true. There was a butt whipping handed out last night, and it didn't. Give a butt whipping some praise in Vegas. What happened in Vegas does not stay in Vegas. Ask UCLA. Man, so now the Gonzaga Bulldogs, they are the number one team in Big C's polls. Everybody has their own polls. But those two teams, depending on how you look at it, some media outlets have UCLA 1, and they had Gonzaga 2. Others had Gonzaga 1, UCLA 2. So we'll go with Gonzaga right now, but that was not the UCLA team that's going to play basketball the rest of the year. Again, stay away from Turkey if you're a college basketball team. Number 3, the Kansas Jayhawks. The Jayhawks, when you think about it, they are a very good team. They've always been a good team out on the plains, but they continue to produce good athletes. Where they get them from, I have no idea. I guess Kansas is the number one destination. But before making too much fun of Kansas, look it up in Gonzaga. It's not always the big cities that have the better teams. Number 4 in Big C's power rankings, the Purdue Boilermakers. They're a fabulous team. I mean, they can win the Big Ten or are going to knock off some people on the way to trying to challenge for a Big Ten championship. And they knocked off North Carolina and Villanova to win the Hall of Fame Classic in the earlier part of the season at the Mohegan Sun. And so look at Purdue. They have up and down the court ability. They space the ball very well. They're not a selfish team. They play kind of old school basketball. They're very talented, but they also have good spacing on the floor. One of my favorite coaches, I guess, ever is head coach of the number 5 team. Maybe his swan song, Coach Krusarewski, or that's what they call him in a TV commercial back in the day. They call him Coach Krusarewski, but we know it's Coach Dean Sasefsky. Give him some praise. Give Coach K some praise. Always has the Duke Blue Devils in the thick of things. They're getting production from Wendell Moore Jr., the kind of veteran help that will help them compete for a title. You know they're most likely going to win the ACC, but they also have their eyes set on a national title and hopefully a Final Four for Coach K. If this is going to be his final season coaching up there in Tobacco Row, I'm telling you, that's a great program. He's been as solid as the sun shining over his tenure at Duke, and they have a lot to win. A lot of good players have gone on and played for the great coach. Give Coach K some praise. Love that. Coach Dean Dean Smith was with North Carolina. I remember the Duke North Carolina games back in the day, and going on is Coach Smith, but Coach K still there doing his thing. Another solid basketball team, number 4. Some people may not like them being number 4, but I'm going to go Villanova. The Wildcats lost 2 games, but those losses were late to 2 top 5 teams. And so the Wildcats, in my opinion, they deserve to be a top 10 team, and they're still good. And they're still space the floor. They have good athletes. They're very well coached. And so when people say, I just want to see a team that's undefeated, ranked in the top 5, if you're an undefeated team and you're playing teams that are ranked between 20 and 50 in the country, you may not be as good, even though your record might be better than a team that's lost 2 games. That's why I think Villanova is deserving of that number 6 spot. Number 7, last year's national champion, the Baylor Bears. Obviously, they don't have the same players that they had last year, but L.J. Cryer, he's been amazing as a stat player. And the reigning champions are all the good for it, and they're playing extremely well. They're a fast team. You can tell this Baylor team actually gets into the weight room, and they lift a lot of weights. This team gets up and down the court. They also bang bodies with the best of them. They can come out of the Big 12 as a champion, but we got a long way to go. The Kentucky number 8, the Kentucky Wildcats. The Wildcats have 1 loss to Duke and are getting dominant play from their players. They space the floor as well. They're well coached. They get up and down the court. You see that in these blue blood programs. Kentucky's always going to be one of the top teams coming out of the SEC. Number 9 in Big C's, college basketball universe, top 25 teams. Number 9, the Houston Cougars dominated Virginia at home. And Marcus Sasser is playing like he may be a conference player of the year. The Houston Cougars, they got a big game coming up in football, coming up against Cincinnati also coming up this weekend. So that's a good program down in Houston. It's amazing they're not part of the Big 12. I think Houston, if I'm not mistaken, they're the largest city in the state of Texas. But Texas and Fort Worth area, as well as Austin, have teams in the Big 12. Houston should be in the Big 12 just because they got the population, they got everything going for them, and especially the facilities also. And then number 10 in Big C's, college basketball top 10 teams. I'm going to have the Memphis. I'm going to put the Memphis in there. Memphis is a good team. Imadi Bates and Jalen Duren haven't disappointed so far. We know that Tigers have so much talent. They're a talented team. They get up and down the court. They space the ball well. Memphis wouldn't be too much of a shock if they got to the Sweet 16 this year. You say, of course, they're ranked in the top 10 now. Things change. It's a long stretch, but they're a good team. They have some growing to do, but they're a good team. Number 11, Seton Hall. The Pirates get the biggest jump of any team over the last week because they had a win at Michigan, which is tough to do. The Seton Hall, they're going to be in the thick of things too. They just got to keep their momentum going forward and not get too overexcited about what happened with the win in Michigan. I'm going to come out to the West Coast again. We've had UCLA and Gonzaga 1 and 2 in the country, flip-flopping now after Gonzaga had a 20-point win down in Las Vegas. And I think UCLA ate turkey on Wednesday. On Tuesday before the game. That has to be I can't understand why they were just not in rhythm, but it happens. Well, number 12 on the West Coast, Big C's, college basketball, top 25. The BYU Cougars having a great basketball campaign this year too. That's a program that's going to have success when they go ultimately to the Big 12. I know they're going to go to the Big 12 for football. And in basketball, they're still part of the West Coast Conference with Gonzaga. So they'll give Gonzaga some tough competition this year. But the Cougars have the second best win of the season behind Seton Hall's win over Michigan after the crushing victory over Oregon. That game was up in Portland. So BYU, that's a program that they take on everybody. They're out of the West Coast Conference. And when you think about it, the West Coast Conference are the power teams from the West Coast Conference versus the Pac-12. You have Gonzaga beating UCLA, and then BYU beat Oregon. So the West Coast Conference right now is showing, at least of the top couple of teams, they're the real deal. Number 13 in Big C's college basketball, Power 25. The Arizona Wildcats were as impressive as any team in the past week, dominating in the tournament win in Las Vegas, capped off by a beatdown of Michigan. That's Pac-12. Think about people that say, the Pac-12 doesn't play the best competition. That's not true at all. You have UCLA, and you have Arizona making a lot of noise in the Pac-12 conference and also all over the country. Those are two blue blood programs. They've always won. They've had their years of being down, but they have the athletes, they have the program, the tradition. Arizona Wildcats are going to have a mighty fine season this year, and they're both part of the Pac-12. UCLA and Arizona are going to bring a lot of TV coverage to the West Coast. Number 14, the Illini, the Illinois Fighting Illini. Them good boys. Give them praise. Give the Fighting Illini some praise. They have a good team to challenge in the Big Ten. They get Coffee Cockburn back for Monday's game. As Cincinnati had him back, and the game was played in Kansas City. I'm telling you, there's something about these Big Ten teams and Pac-12 teams. They're loaded, and a lot of them are ranked on the top of the polls. But they're like recruiting machines. They keep turning in better players. It's like year in and year out. They don't really rebuild. They just reload is what they do. Number 15, St. Bonaventure. Going to put them kind of high at number 15. The Bonnies took home the Charleston Classic title by knocking off Marquette back in the day, Dwayne Wade's old program back in college. And they have a look of a team that can make a deep run. I know it's going into next year, but the way they took care of Marquette shows that they're a lot better than maybe people gave them credit for. That's why they had such a jump. Number 16 out of the SEC, the Tennessee Volunteers. Yeah, they lost to Purdue, but Purdue's the real deal. But they turned around and blew out North Carolina in the third place game at the Mohegan Sun. So Purdue is the real deal. We know that. But Tennessee losing to Purdue is not a bad thing at all. And then the win, a big-time win over North Carolina, shows that Tennessee is the real deal over in the SEC. And then number 17 in Big C's college basketball, top 25, the Alabama Crimson Tide. They have the Iron Bowl in their football program against Auburn over the weekend after Thanksgiving. But the Tide dropped a few spots only because it hasn't played the tougher part of its schedule as opposed to other teams that are ranked higher than them. Alabama, they lost last year to UCLA in March Madness, and they were picked by many people to go to the Final Four. This is still a solid program, have a lot of athletes. They like to get up and down the court. I think what might hurt them down the stretch is when it comes to playing slow down basketball, they still want to run and gun. We'll see what happens in the SEC and on the national level. Number 18, UConn Huskies in Big C's college basketball power 25. The Huskies have the potential to be a top 10 team once they get Jordan Hawkins back and gets more involved. They have a lot of teams that are aiming for UConn. The Huskies have a kind of always a bullseye on their chest, being the beast from the Northeast. I won't call them the beast. I'm going to call them the kings of the Northeast up there in Connecticut. Number 19, the SEC gets back in the thick of things. The Auburn Tigers, the football team, has the Iron Bowl coming up against Alabama over the weekend for football. But the Tigers had a shaky game at the USF, but they still pull out a win in advance of the Atlanta's matchup with the Huskies. All fair and love and war. Auburn has a good basketball program again. Number 20 in Big C's college basketball power 20. We got to give a little bit of praise to the Florida Gators. Their football program is in disarray, but their basketball program is top 20 in the country. They're getting solid post play out of Colston Castle. Castleton should help a lot with the help of helping them stay atop the SEC. The SEC's loaded. They have a lot of good teams in the top 20. You got Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee. They're loaded in the SEC. They were also loaded last year, but we'll see how far they can run with this team. Number 21 in Big C's college basketball, top 21 in the universe basketball universe, the Texas Longhorns. Man, what's happened to the Texas football team? They were supposed to be the kings of the Southwest Conference, and then the Big 8 Conference, and now the Big 12. But the last time they won a championship, they was in the Rose Bowl over USC back in 2005 for football. Basketball, they've had some good teams, but never as... I've always thought Texas program, but the money that pours into that school, that they would be maybe a more of a top 10 type of program. But money doesn't buy wins all the time. It just buys talent and facilities. But the Longhorns figuring out who they are in the first few weeks. They'll be in the top 10 again this season. I really like the athleticism of the athletes that get down in Texas, down in Austin. Number 22 in Big C's college basketball power rankings. The Xavier Musketeers had a win that will have long-lasting shelf life on campus, plus the season after beating the Ohio State Buckeyes at home. That's small versus big. Ohio State, anytime you can beat a Big Ten program. Xavier is no joke. We know they get talent. They have excellent coaching. They have a good system. But for them to beat Ohio State the way they did makes a lot of people open their eyes. That's why they had such a big jump. Number 23 out of the Big Ten, the Indiana Hoosiers, no longer the Bobby Knight Indiana Hoosiers. They don't even play like Bobby Knight coach team, but they are fundamentally sound. They passed their first test by knocking off St. John's at home before a crowd at Assembly Hall. And people may not like that stadium, but give that stadium some applause. It's kind of an old, rustic look, kind of not a lot of room between sideline to the fan base, but that stadium has been one that you know when you're looking at their arena. So congratulations for keeping that. I want to get to the thick of things in the Pac-12. There's a lot of good things happening in Pac-12 basketball. The number 24 USC Trojans have 2 true road wins. They're looking like maybe the second or third best team in the Pac-12 right now. They're looking up at UCLA, and they're looking up at Arizona. And, don't look too far down the road for Oregon and Washington State. There's some programs, too, especially that Washington State program. They're going to have some success this year also. But the USC Trojans and the UCLA Bruins, those 2 Los Angeles area rivals, both going to make some noise this year for March Madness. Number 25 in Big C's college basketball power rankings, the Arkansas Razorbacks out of the SEC. They're going to find out where they stand nationally this week with Kansas City, especially when you have their matchup that they have with Illinois. It's not about who wins or loses. UCLA was blown out by Gonzaga. I still feel that by the end of the year, they'll learn to eat the Big C burger. It's a tasty burger, and it comes with, what's all those exotic meats? They'll have the Big C burger, and they'll go out and play well next night. I think they had turkey. You don't want to have turkey before you play in a big game, and I think UCLA found that out. But it's all fair and level where I really like what the Pac-12 is doing. But the Razorbacks, too, Arkansas, good team down in the SEC. I remember Nolan Richardson, 40 minutes of hell, and they're not that kind of team now, but they play more possession basketball. I'm going to just finish out some more games because that's Big C's Power 25. As I said, I would give the Power 25, so give them some praise. Give the Power 25 some praise of Big C's college basketball. I love what young kids are doing. They're flying all over the country playing different arenas in the preseason to get ready for their conference tournaments and their conference play. So a win is a win, a loss is a loss. It's not a conference loss. But this is what you learn. This is what you learn to work on what you got to work on. And I know these teams that are maybe ranked in the top 25, between 15 and 25, they may climb the ladder because they're going to use that experience to get better in the rankings as the season wears on. I'm going to just mention a few more teams in Big C's college basketball Power 25. I'm going to go the extension of that. Number 26, got Virginia Tech coming in, the Hokies. Going to challenge for a top spot in the ACC. Number 27, the Ohio State Buckeyes. They lost a late possession game to Xavier. No shame in that, but Ohio State, they'll make noise in the Big Ten Conference. Number 28, Michigan State, also in the Big Ten Conference. The Spartans got the road win they needed at Butler to start to build the momentum they need to compete in the Big Ten Conference. I'm going to come out to the Mountain West, and people might laugh. It's not Gonzaga. It's not BYU. But number 29, Colorado State. Remember the name David Roddy. He's a star player, a big-time player. The Rams beat back Creighton at the Paradise Jam tournament over the weekend. Dropped 36 points. I know Colorado State, their matchups are going to be against Fresno State, Nevada, San Diego State, and UNLVs of the world, Boise States. But that's a team that's going to challenge out of the Mountain West Conference and make some noise. Going to run right back to the Pac-12, the Washington State Cougars. And the Cougars are one preseason Pac-12 bubble team. I'm telling you, they're talented. They're up there right around Gonzaga, not that far from each other, the campuses. Maybe they should scrimmage more, and Washington State can learn how Gonzaga does it. It's amazing how that part of the country, the great Northwest, Pacific Northwest, they have teams ranked in the top 30. And so give them a lot of credit for that. Number 31, Marquette. The Golden Eagles had quite a week, beating Illinois at home in the Gavitt games and then knocking off West Virginia and then falling to the Bonnies at the Charleston Classic. Number 32, Providence. Out of Rhode Island, the Friars were impressive in the road win at Big Ten, Wisconsin. That's always big when you can go into a Big Ten arena and when they usually play a lot of physical basketball. I want to bring you to Loyola of Chicago. The Ramblers will end up being one of the toughest teams to beat when you think about it this year. Loyola, Chicago have been having a lot of success over the last couple of seasons. Number 34, I'm going to run down to the Big 12 Conference, where we have Texas Tech, the Red Raiders, probably start to climb higher now that Terrence Shannon is cleared to rejoin the team. Florida State, number 35. The Seminoles gotten back to locking teams down since the second half collapse against Gainesville. And I think about the Hill up in San Francisco. This team won 2 national titles back in the days of Casey Jones and Cartwright. And the San Francisco Dons, that put them in at number 36. Kind of a sleeper team in the West Coast Conference with Gonzaga and BYU. But they're off to a good start. They have wins over Davidson in Nevada. So they have a lot to climb that mountain on the hill. University of San Francisco over in beautiful city of San Francisco. So some other teams, even though they didn't have the best start to the year, keep in mind as we climb that mountain in college basketball, keep in mind from Michigan, Oregon, Maryland, North Carolina, Syracuse, and Rutgers. Okay, so keep in mind those teams. I always want to give some praise to the college basketball top 25 when I went to 36 teams in Big C Sports. As we welcome to the show some of the top college basketball programs in the universe, all strand level. We're going to take the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. In the words of former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. All right, we are back with the Big C pause, also known as the Big C timeout. You can follow Big C Sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on 18 podcast applications all over the universe and 4 TV applications all fair in level war. Are you ready for the football? Of course you are. If you don't eat too much turkey. We have Turkey Day, and on Thanksgiving Day, I'm wishing everybody nothing but the best. The Bears will play at the Lions. That's a 12:30 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox. You can also follow it on Fubo TV. And then we have the Las Vegas Raiders. Man, they're trying to climb out of their hole. They're down in the deep state of Texas, called the Dallas Cowboys at 4:30 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on Fox Sports and also Fubo TV. The Buffalo Bills, who that say they're going to beat them Saints? The Buffalo Bills been hurting lately. They're at the New Orleans Saints in the 8:20 p.m. kickoff East Coast time on NBC TV. And when you think about it, the Bears or the Lions are hosting their 82nd Thanksgiving game in this year. The 82nd time entering Week 11. They're slowly looking to get Dan Campbell's first win. And it could come against the Bears. And speaking of that, this game is sponsored by the Big C Burger. It's a tasty burger it comes with. What's all this exotic meat? What's all this exotic meat? What's all those exotic meat? Can you imagine if the Lions get a win on Thanksgiving? Justin Fields, I think, is out of that game. The Lions might get their first win. Think about that. The Lions lost 24-14 against the Bears early in the season, but if they can just slow Justin Fields, if he plays, if he's not, he had his ribs wrapped in ice, so I don't know if it's a game time decision, if he's going to play or not, but we'll see. But even if he plays, will he be that effective with bruised up ribs? The Dallas Cowboys. When you think about it, how about, what they say, Jimmy Johnson said, how about them Cowboys? Yeah, how about them Cowboys? And they got to get some scoring going. But you know, they got a receiver still out because of COVID protocol. But the Cowboys are playing their 53rd Thanksgiving Day game and will get a chance to play their second AFC West team in as many games, losing to Kansas City last week, well, over Sunday. And now they have the Raiders coming to town. It's going to be a lot easier matchup for the Cowboys than the Chiefs were. The Chiefs were all over them on defense. That Dallas Cowboys line got to block and keep Dak Prescott upright. He was sacked 5 times on Sunday. That can't happen. Las Vegas, they've kind of fallen apart. When you think about what happened with Henry Ruggs III and also John Gruden being out, just a lot of issues. And then if you think about it, the night game 2021 should be interesting, at least when you think about what happened. The Steelers and the Ravens game was postponed due to COVID issues, but it will be making its return this year, right? But the Bills have a strong-looking offense led by Josh Allen and a great defense as well. The Saints have the league's best run defense and could challenge some of the Bills' receivers. So we'll see what happens with that. And I love watching football on Thanksgiving. We have on the Lions at the Bears game. It's going to be, again, on Fox Sports and Fubo TV. You can live stream on Fubo TV. They're going to have the broadcast team of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, and they're going to be calling that Thanksgiving game. They may not be showing the Cowboys this year, but you can still expect them to be in the call for the Bears-Lions game. They usually do a good job broadcasting their football games anyway. Aaron Andrews, Christina Pink also served as a tag team duo as sideline reporters this year. They'll likely continue to do the same thing as Fox standalone Thanksgiving game. Mike Pereira serves as Fox broadcast rules analyst, and maybe he'll be called on at times. And when you think about a game that not too long ago, many people thought that maybe this would be, are you ready for some football with the Raiders and the Cowboys? But I'm telling you, something's up. The Raiders are just out of it right now, it seems. It's on CBS Sports. You can live stream on Fubo TV. Looks like they have Jim Nantz and Tony Romo making the call for CBS in the Cowboys-Raiders game. And so viewers get to watch the Romo breakdown of his former team and also the team that replaced him with touchdown Dak Prescott. Tracy Wolf's on the sideline reporter for Nantz and Romo's crew, while former NFL referee Gene Statutori will be CBS rules analyst for the game. And so hopefully they'll do a good job if they're not too full of turkey. All's fair in love and war. Anytime you have the Cowboys are must-see TV and the Raiders are must-see TV, even if the Raiders aren't having the best year of it. It's still the tradition of those silver helmets for the Raiders and Cowboys. It just brings back a lot of memories. It's all fair and love and war. And then the nightcap, the Saints at the Bills, or the Saints versus the Bills, is going to be down, and you can follow it. It's 8:20 p.m. kickoff East Coast time, NBC Sports. You can also stream live on Fubo TV. And when you think about this game, the broadcast seems likely to get a change-up from its usual Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth duel on Thanksgiving. I guess Michaels and Collinsworth get the day off so they can eat more turkey. And then the replacement is going to be the great Mike Tirico. Does a fabulous job. Mike Tirico does everything from golf to football, basketball, even called the Kentucky Derby. And so he does he'll be all over it. This year it seems that Collinsworth is going to move out of the booth and take over the holiday, while Drew Brees will be breaking down his former Saints team in the booth. And Michelle Tafoya is going to serve as a sideline reporter in this game, while Terry McAuley, a recently retired official, will be the NFL rules analyst for the broadcast. And so people might want to ask the question, why does the NFL, I think they moved the 49ers and Seahawks game off of a late Sunday night game because the Seahawks are only 3-7. They changed it around. So why do they have the Detroit Lions play on every Thanksgiving, whether they're good or bad? They're a winless team. And maybe they'll get a win this week on Thanksgiving. But why do they always play on Thanksgiving? After doing a little bit of research, the Big C research crew, the Lions are set to play the 82nd game on Thanksgiving. The tradition began in 1934, with their only stoppage of the Thanksgiving game coming from 1939 to 1944, and that was during the height of World War II. So it's just a tradition, and they've been doing it whether they have a winning team or a losing team. Some of the better Thanksgiving days I've seen is when they had touchdown Barry Sanders doing his thing in the backfield. The Dallas Cowboys, they joined the lineup in 1966 and hosted some Thanksgiving Day games in the early years of the franchise history. Now they stopped a bit, if I recall, from 1975 to 1977, I believe, as the NFL wanted the St. Louis Cardinals to play on Thanksgiving to boost their popularity as they are set to play at home for the 43rd consecutive year. Now, the Lions, when you think about it, I mean, they are better on Thanksgiving Day than they are during the regular seasons without Thanksgiving Day. The Lions have a career record of 37 wins, 42 losses, and 2 ties on Thanksgiving. You see why they're on Thanksgiving now? You see why they might get their first win on Thanksgiving Day? They're not 500, but overall, they have a better record than they do in the regular season. So look for them to maybe pull the upset over the weekend. We will see. But they haven't won a game since 2016 against the Vikings. And the Cowboys are 31-21-1 on Thanksgiving Day with their last win coming over Washington in 2018. And the Cowboys fans are always nuts. That's one of the reasons we always put the Cowboys in, because the crowd's nuts. They're crazy. They love the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? They really do mean that down there. All's fair in love and war. So I wish everyone the very best on this beautiful Thanksgiving Day weekend. May everyone have all the stuffing and the turkey and the cranberry relish and whatever makes your belly feel good. I had some at the office today. We had some macaroni and cheese. I want to thank all of our partners at the real estate office for bringing in the food. Thank you, Kevin, for that. And sitting down with Joseph and both Kevins and also just everybody that had a good time really appreciating how we have so much fun eating food today and talking to everybody, trying to figure out how we can all make life better. And going into 2022, what we're all grateful for. I'm grateful for a family. I'm grateful for, Gary Watts carved the turkey, so thank you, Gary, for carving the turkey. I'm grateful for family. I'm grateful for just thinking about all the good times that I've had over the years. And may this year also be a very blessed Thanksgiving. Everybody, please safe out there. Don't drink and drive. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bodini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, you float like a butterfly. You sting like a turkey. You sting like a bee. You rumble, young man, rumble. He didn't sting like a turkey. Turkeys don't sting. He said, with all you got to use, how could you lose? Ali said, I'm so pretty, I can't possibly be beat. With all this tryptophan in my system, it's hard to move on my feet. That's funny. That's why he went to the Big C Burger. My beautiful mother has made the best turkeys in the history of the universe. Always says, never ever an excuse for racism or domestic violence. You can know any man, woman, or child going from that garbage, pick up the phone and ask for help, because no man, woman, or child should ever have to go to that garbage on their own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super happy Thanksgiving.